Hey guys, it's Lockie from the MacArthur podcast. I've got Kelric and Mackenzie here today, boys from Flashback. They are the founders. Lads, thanks for coming into the studio. Great to see you. I really appreciate it. So Kelric, we'll start with you. If you can just give us a bit of an introduction to yourself.
Well, first, Lachlan, I'd just like to say a big thank you, mate, for having us here today. We're very excited.
Yeah, really glad to be here, man.
Pleasure.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Give us a bit of an introduction about yourself. To give us what Kelric is, that people wouldn't know if they didn't know you.
Okay. Well, obviously most people do know me. I'm pretty big on the block. I come from humble beginnings, from Cairns.
Cairns?
Yep, that's where I hail from. Been in Brisbane for a little while now. We met in college, obviously.
Yep.
Went to uni. Didn't finish that, but we'll get around to it.
How'd you find the trip from Cairns to Brizzy, moving down?
A long 20 hours.
Did you drive down?
Oh, yeah. Many times up and down, back to see the parents. Well, yep.
So, Cairns, what'd you study at uni?
Film and business.
Yeah.
How's
that been going?
Good. Until I put that on hold. Mac also put uni on hold for Flashback.
Yeah.
But when I was there, it was good. I learned a lot. I think a lot of it kind of led me to where I am now.
Yeah, nice. Because you've dabbled in, I remember when we met at college, you've done a bit of filming. You're very good with the camera. Did a couple of videos and stuff like that the college really got around. So you've been dabbling in that for a while, hey?
Yeah, always love the creative side. It's where the passions lie. Yeah, so it's great what we're doing now, and obviously we'll get into that later. Plays a big part of that.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome, Kelric. Mackenzie, give us a bit about yourself, mate.
So I was actually born in Newcastle, and I moved around a whole bunch when I was little, but I've been in Brisbane for, maybe 6 years now. Yeah. And I've been living here. And obviously we met in college as well.
Yeah. How'd you find the move from Newcastle to here?
It's very different. Whenever I was living in New South Wales, I was always living in like very small towns, usually. Yeah. And Newcastle's a small city, but I was living in places like Tamworth. Which is like even smaller than that sort of.
That's where my mum's family's from.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Tamworth. That. I've never been though.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. The country music festival is.
Apparently it goes off.
It goes off, but the locals all hate it.
Oh,
well,
really?
Not all the locals. A lot of them love it, but a lot of us we would just basically stay out of town for the whole festival.
Everyone comes
so
in,
sick of it
books out everything.
Years.
They're all in the shopping centres.
Yeah,
so have you ever been to the music festival?
Yeah, I mean, when I was there, we went a couple times. But yeah, we were pretty sick of it by the end.
Do you listen to country?
I do not. Not personally, no.
No, that's awesome. All right, boys. So I want to know how you boys met. Obviously, for anyone who's listening, we all did meet in college, us three. But how did you boys, the friendship start?
I wouldn't be able to tell you the first day I met him. College, as we all know, is a bit of a blur. Yeah, I don't know. First memory?
I think it just kind of happened by osmosis. Like, we hung out a bunch, and I mean, like, there was parties and everything that we were both going to, and I think we just sort of clicked with like just our personalities and our sense of humor. Like, we just always kind of got along, and as time went on, I think we always had this idea of like going into business together, or like we just knew that we'd be doing sort of big things when we got out of uni. Yeah. And we both kind of have that sort of drive where it's like we're not going to just sort of play by the rules and live like an ordinary life as most people would say. Yeah, and like we've just always known that, not for us.
Even watching from afar, so because I had you in my corridor, Kelric, but even watching you guys from afar, from what I remember, you guys sort of had different groups to start with, and then pretty quick, after a couple of parties, whatever, it's fun watching friendships click on a night out. And then I think something like that happened, to be honest, or like might have been like hanging out lunchtimes, the two groups came together. And then eventually when you're doing all your fun filming and all that sort of stuff, I remember Mac used to come into the corridor a bit. Yeah. And then I don't know how long it was, but after a couple of months, you boys were just like pretty nice and tight. But always the creative juices were flowing, making everyone laugh. And you guys are just two people that everyone got around as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. In my memory, it went from just singing around every now and then. It was very, very light. And then next second, just a bunch of weird crap.
Yeah.
We'd hang out like almost every day. Like we'd eat most of our meals together.
Yeah. Went from 0 to 100 real quick. That was a strong
It's like
romance
a long lost brother.
Yeah.
Oh,
But no, it helped. We just got up to mischief. You know, when I had a crazy idea, I said, "Oh, let's go do something like this." Most people be like, "Bro, what are you talking about? You can't do that at college." This guy would come along and be like, "Okay,
all right, and here's how we do it. Here's how we do it.
Yeah. He'd come up with a plan. Yeah.
Nah, fellas, that's awesome. And in fact, I think some of your best moments, I mean, I used to stay up quite late, mucking around, whatnot, and even walking past the corridor, so everyone's like pretty much asleep. You'll have like a couple of the night owls awake, and usually that's when the most like fun shit happens. You get up to random stuff, like, you know. And every time I'd walk past your room, Kelric, it was always like Mac in there and you'd be doing something.
Yep.
Sometimes I'd knock on the door, you'd have music pumping. I'd open the door and be like, "What's going on in here?" And you'd be like, "You don't want to know." I'd be like, "All right, you boys." But no, you boys are absolute hoot. So yeah, so that's how you guys met. That's awesome. Friendship's obviously going quite strong.
Well, you know.
And
Ups and downs for sure.
we work on it. And now business partners as well.
Yeah.
So founders of Flashback, boys.
So I know you've probably heard, but people say never go into business with your best mate.
Yep.
And we
definitely heard it.
went into business with our best mate.
Yeah.
How is it going so far in terms of, do you feel as though there's any change in sort of, obviously there is that business mentality to it, but in terms of the way you guys come up with ideas, click and everything, do you find it pretty, how would I say it, natural to you guys after being friends for so long, or is it?
Yeah. And I think that's because our friendship is somewhat unique in terms of we've got the friend side, but because in college we were also doing so many things, a lot of like, okay, for example, when we were in, second year, when we did Old Mooney?
Yeah, second year, I think. Yeah.
So second year, I don't know if you remember, we might have, you kept it under the rug a bit. But we were brewing beer in college for a while. And we had this big idea.
Were you brewing it at college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was it?
It's in a wardrobe. We were absolutely not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Selling it for $24 a 6-pack. Straight out.
Literally, we had a whole big, you'd walk into Mac's room in his little bathroom and he'd be there over a pot, stirring stuff around. So we'd bottle it up and we labeled it Old Mooney. And we came up with an icon. It was a moon with a little hat on and a little crooked smile. And we tried to sell it. Yeah.
Any luck? Apart from yourselves purchasing?
It did all right. And then we had one night where we drank a lot of it for a party.
Ooh. Didn't go so well.
Yeah, it was a rough one that night.
Open the closet, look at the batch.
But yeah, so like stuff like that.
Awesome.
In doing that stuff in college has allowed us to basically practice being friends while having some type of venture.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it works with us. Otherwise, going into business with your friends, it's just like moving in with your best mate in a house. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it just goes bad.
I would classify both of you as very creative, innovative people, but also once you ride that wave of creativity, you guys have the thinking caps. You're like, okay, how would this work? How would this make money and whatnot? Do you reckon that's when you narrow down the friendship you guys have and all the good memories, everything like that? Do you reckon it's that fact that you guys can just click, you're innovative, the creativity? Is that what you guys like most about each other in terms of as you go into business together?
Yeah, I think 100%. Like that's one of the reasons that we clicked is that we both kind of have that drive to just sort of make something new just for the sake of it, just to say, I did that, I made that. And I think you and I both, when we were kids, like we were taking stuff apart and putting it back together, and just experimenting with all kinds of stuff. I mean, Kelric, you were doing blacksmithing since you were relatively young, and we've both just experimented with a lot of stuff, and we like to travel and see new things, and sort of any kind of process that involves creating something new or seeing something that we haven't done before. That's something that's very attractive to both of us, and I think we've definitely bonded over that.
Yeah. It's also, it shines through to everyone else as well. Even at the moment, as you guys are marketing Flashback, like you can clearly see it on the end. Even if I'm just going through Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, you can clearly see you boys are having a lot of fun. But the different advertisements you guys do, just funny videos, it's all clicking and it all looks really good. So it's absolutely fantastic.
Glad to hear that, man. That's awesome.
That's my feedback. Flashback, when did it start?
The idea or the brand?
Let's go the idea. Actually,
Okay.
when did the idea start?
The idea started probably a year and a half ago. Oh, no. A year and...
Probably a year and 3-4 months.
something like that.
Yeah.
So we've been sitting on it, working on it for a bit now.
Yeah.
But where it came from, the idea, that's a hard one. Basically, it started with one crazy night. One crazy night. I ended up going over to Mac's apartment quite late, and I just came in. I looked at him in the eye, and I said, "Hey, man, hey."
He burst in the door. Absolutely burst in the door.
He's got a spare key.
He's sitting by himself, just in the lounge, just having a nice night. And I was like, "Hey, man, I've got an idea. Hear me out. Hear me out." Anyway, you know how that went.
Yeah, he comes to me with this crazy idea, and he tells it to me, and
Yeah.
the first words out of my mouth were, "Kelric, you've had a lot of dumb ideas, but that is absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There is no way we could ever make that work." And
I love it.
somehow we ended up working on it for the last almost 18 months of our lives.
I just said, think about it. He had a little bit of time, and then he came around. He came back. He's like, you know what? It's not the worst.
It was were you probably? I can see it being like Kelric's come in. You've had a lot of dumb ideas, but you've had a lot of fun ones as well that have clicked, like the beer and everything. And I can see Kelric walking in, and you just being like, "Oh, here we go again." And then, Kelric says the idea, and in your mind you're going, "Shit, he's actually onto something for once." But then just bring him down a peg. Yeah, mate, I'll think about it.
All right.
That's all right. So that's awesome. So did you have the initial idea in your head, and then you went to Mac?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you came in one night into the apartment and said, "I've got an idea."
Yeah. Well, I was on it, and I just didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know if it was.
Yeah.
It was sound. If it was the right thing. So the natural step for me, the next one, would just straight to Mac. See what he says. Lay it all out, and he obviously approved eventually, and now here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
How is in terms of, did you find yourselves spending, like, once the idea started to click a bit, what is like that initial phase of when you have an idea, but before you go out and just say, okay, we're just going to start a business with it? What was that sort of process like? Did you guys start to hang out like a lot more and just start working on the idea and mucking around? Or was it actually like, hey, we've got this idea and we're going to go straight forward, and things just sort of fell into place from there?
I think it was definitely like a gradual process. I think in the beginning it was more just like, okay, let's just look more into this and see if it's feasible at all. Is there a market for something like this? Or like, in the beginning, like we didn't even know like if it would be a product, or it was just this problem that needed solving.
Yeah. There's a lot of time spent trying to understand how big the problem actually was, and whether it was a problem big enough that we should focus our attention to. Yeah. So that probably took a while. And also just, never running a business before, there's a learning curve there where you slowly, because, no one says, okay, now you got to do this, now you got to do this, now you got to do market research, now you got to prove the market exists, and then blah, 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 now you got to design this. But there's no code, there's no structure. You just got to do it yourself.
It's not like there's an entrepreneurship class at school. Which would just, there is in uni. There's
I would know about that.
Which would really help.
But so we just kind of spent a lot of time finding our way. Just at the start, it was really slow, and then over time, it's a real snowball effect. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden, you're running down the hill and going as quick as you can.
So, how long has it been since the idea came into the actual? All right, we're registering a business name. We're going to go for this.
I think we incorporated in April last year, so coming up on 12 months ago.
Yeah. And how have you found that 12 months? Like, what has been some challenges in that time? And like, what have been some real highlights? Because starting a business, you're exactly right. No one really teaches you how to, like, honestly, some of the things I've learned, even starting my own, can just be like watching YouTube, the advice people give. But there's no like, here, this is how you start a business.
Yeah, you can't just Google, how do I fix this in my business?
Yeah.
And let alone... Like, the advice is going to be general, and like you have to use your brain a little bit. Yeah, it's challenging.
Exactly. How has that process been in that first 12 months? Because that's such an important period. And usually... there's a lot of spending going on, there's a lot of outgoings before, income and stuff like that. But how has that process been? What have been some big challenges for you guys?
I would say the biggest challenge out of all of it is not even right at the very start. The first, probably 7 months, we'd be really strong. We'd know what we want. We'd be on the right track.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something comes up, we question something, and then you're just off in the woods, like just questioning everything, wondering, is this the right thing
a lot
to
of
do?
uncertainty there.
Yeah.
You know, is this the future for me? You know, now I'm putting uni on the line, now I'm putting this on the line, now I'm putting money in.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing? Or, you know, do I need that? You know, should I be in the rat race just working hard and saving my money?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you start questioning that. So we had a few times like that. Mac and I would kind of take turns.
Yeah.
And you
One
know,
of us would freak out, and the other one would be like, "No, this is we can work this out. It's gonna work out."
Because it's a big thing. Like, it's actually life changing, isn't it? Like,
it is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
And that's actually a good thing to touch on, is being in a partnership as well. So even if it's not just you starting your own business, because you can go up and down, have your bad days, have your good days. How'd you go together? Was it like one person would be like, you know, keeping the other person going along during the tough times, or how did that sort of work, knowing that there's two of you going in this venture?
I think we were very lucky in that when one of us would freak out, the other one was just okay.
Yeah.
So it would normally happen with a message, "Hey man, how's it going? You ready to, work on this today?" There'd be a real big delay in the message coming back.
Yeah.
And then you just get like "Oh no, it's not good, man. I'm in the woods." And then you read it, you're like, "Oh, here we go." And you're like,
Just the typing symbol for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, just come over, man. You're like walking around. We'll be walking around in the driveway, just walking back and forth and just laying everything out again. Be like, "Okay, no, this is okay.
Yeah.
This is cool." Mac would be like, "Oh man, I don't know, man." Now I'm starting to think, I'm like, "Oh shit, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm wrong," and then back and forth, and then
Finally, once you've convinced the other person, they switch on you.
yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons that it is so valuable that we were really, really good friends before we started any of this, because we have that sort of level of like trust and accountability with each other.
Yeah, that's great.
Like, I trust this guy like unconditionally with my life, basically.
Mm.
And so having that foundation, like I think if you were going into a business partnership with someone who, basically is a stranger to you otherwise, I think, you can't be 100% certain that, they have your best interests at heart. But I think, with us, it's we know that we're doing what's best for the business, but also, what's best for the two of us as individuals as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely awesome, boys. 100%.